Today I'm going to show you a bunch of winning trade setups that you can take on a price action tick chart on the ES futures. And all of these setups were winning trade setups. There's a lot of riskier trade setups today because we had a strong uptrend. And sometimes on a strong uptrend, the entries are not exactly ideal, but the bullish momentum still gives you a solid entry. So I marked some of these green for the more questionable entries. They're still good trades, but they just have a little bit of risk because they're not really our ideal setups. And so I want to show this. They are, I guess the better way to phrase this is they are our ideal setups, but they're not the ideal signal bars. So that's how I'm going to kind of position that. This blue long over here and this red short are also safe longs and shorts in our ideal setup. And basically what we had, and there's two ways to look at this. We had this uptrend working, big uptrend channel shaded right here, this kind of bluer shaded one. Or you could look at this as a uptrend channel, which was a spike, and then a wider channel that went over here. Now, either way, it got you to the same conclusion. So I left both of them on here just so I can show that either way of looking at this would have been correct. Now, if we pop over to the daily chart real quick, I just want to show this. I had this measured move from this low back in whatever this was, April 2024, all the way up to the high of July 16th, 2024. And I copied that measured move from this low to this high, and today's price action actually hit that level. So we hit our measured move here, and so it'll be interesting to see what we do. You know, we had this range before that I left on the chart because we bounced off of this a couple times over here. You can see that. Let me zoom in a little bit. And you can see that we were bouncing off of that range pretty easily, and it acted as a nice support that was previous resistance after we broke through. So you could kind of almost see on the daily this price action here, where we basically had a pullback first entry, pullback kind of a second entry, but it was an inside bar on this day that ended up going up, and we had a sort of a higher low here, basically tested a higher low, and now we're kind of going off. So it's almost like a breakout pullback long, and we have this wider channel that I drew that got confirmed on this touch here because now we have 1, 2, 3 confirmations of this channel. So now we have another support below, and right below that is our 21 EMA. So on the daily, we're looking still pretty bullish, but I would expect some levels of pullback maybe to these zones before we go up. All right, so let's pop back over to the tick chart, zoom in, and go through it. So when we came in, we had this channel working up. There was a break and a move to a new high. Now, this was about 5 in the morning here. And I actually was here a little earlier than usual. So I actually saw this play out. Unfortunately, there wasn't a trade here. I really wanted to take a long here because we had this uptrend, break, first entry higher, pullback, second entry long. Problem is this candle is not bullish enough. It closes basically as like a doji. So I didn't love it, and I had to just kind of stay out of it. And it was just an unfortunate circumstance because it ended up getting bullish and going up exactly what I thought it was going to do to make a new high. But you can't take that. So I was waiting to see maybe we get a higher low. We didn't get it though. We got this bearish candle. I was hoping that after this bearish candle, this would make like a low maybe down to like here and then turn bullish and give me a higher low entry, but I just didn't get it. So stayed out of it. At this point, you wouldn't have the bigger channel yet. You'd have this, and then you'd have this swing. So you could have drew over your possible spike in channel setup, and you would have had a lower area on this part of the chart would have been basically this high, and eventually you moved it up. And after you had this swing, you could have also started to draw your bigger channel to see if possibly you had the bigger, steeper channel that was going up. And so then anyway, you get a trade here because you have this now correction channel, and it breaks, and it basically gives you it gives you a couple of things here. So you kind of get this pullback, first attempt higher, sort of a hidden first entry, pullback, and then this would technically be a second entry if you were using the hidden. But otherwise, what you could do is you could just look at this as all break, first entry, pullback, second entry long. Now, it's not ideal. That's why it's marked green because this is kind of sideways here. But the reason I like this was because you could see that there's some aggressive buying attempts here. And you're expecting after this channel possibly a test of that high before we go down. And so it just, to me, was a decent setup for a kind of two swings of correction, possibly to give you a high. new high on this channel. But again, this other channel over here had already played out. So you don't know for sure, but you were considering that there's a channel in play right here and you were showing some support above it. So when you kind of closed above here, it could have been, it's not really a confirmation of this channel yet, but you have a touch there, here, and then you kind of confirm there possibly. So it was a possible long. So decent, but not ideal. That's why I said today there's some decent longs, but not ideal. Now, at this point, you have to consider we have a stronger uptrend working, and we have to be aware of it. So we had this channel here, the steeper one, where it's coming up, and I had it drawn through this close. Once this candle closed and we reversed there, I had it here. Now, this is a decent setup because, again, you still have you have the wider channel, so you don't come all the way to it, and you don't come to the EMA, but you've been above the EMA this whole time. So you're still thinking bullish. And what you get here is a nice little trap second entry long. And what it is you get this high here. So this channel played out. Technically, even here, you could argue that there's kind of like a up channel, sort of like this, that then has a break and a new high as well. And then that one plays out. So a lot of people start to go short. And what happens is you have this pullback to this candle. And then what this one was is there's kind of a double sort of trap setup here. A bunch of shorts piled on right here. They get stopped out right here because this candle opens, comes up, stops out all these shorts that were just piling on. Then it comes down to here, and a bunch of those shorts probably re-enter. And then they all get stopped out on this candle that then reverses and goes long and gives us a second entry long. So this is a pullback to the first entry, pullback, second entry long. And basically, it confirms the steeper channel there. It's above the other channel here. So I like that one. The only reason I marked it green, again, is because there's some decent amount of stem up here. It's pretty tight, but it's a low-risk trade. I mean, there's only 9 ticks in that bar. Just like this one, there was only 7 ticks in this bar. So these are pretty low risk. Then it kind of shoots up. And now, again, you have the steeper channel here. And this is a bounce off the steeper channel. And that's why I liked the steeper channel play. I was using the steeper channel here, this shaded one, as my setup. I drew the wider one just in case, the spike in channel setup, but I like the steeper channel. I thought that it was a little bit more accurate. So anyway, you come up here, and this one's an interesting one because you kind of get a pullback, and then this candle, so you kind of get, it comes down, it ends up closing here, and then opens there and pushes up and then reverses. So in some way, this is almost a hidden second entry long. It's really like a first entry, to be honest here, but it's very bullish candle. It's only 6 ticks, really low risk. And I marked this one blue because basically it's an uptrend that's off this steep channel. It's right off the channel. And sometimes when you have a strong trend working like this, you can take one leg corrections if they're really bullish signal bars that come back to the trend line. So I saw this as just a pullback to the trend line, really bullish bar, low risk, 6 ticks. So when you enter that one, you can get in there with an 8 tick stop. If you enter 1 tick above here, you get an 8 tick stop, really easy one. It ends up coming against you very briefly, but then it just kind of shoots up and goes right where you thought. So that was a pretty safe trade to me. It's kind of a hidden second entry, but it's really a first entry long. Then you come up here, you get your new high. Now you get a first entry break, second entry long here. And the reason I like this one is it's basically, if this wider channel is in play, it's a second entry off the wider channel, right off of the trend channel line, and it's closing above the EMA. It's also, with a break of the steep channel, there's a possibility that we're expecting a new high after a break of the channel. Now, the reason it's marked green is, again, like, it's kind of, you don't get a new low there. If this candle had broke like a tick or two below the red candle, I would have liked this one more because then I could have said, okay, it's a better swing, because really this ends up being like an inside bar entry, 2-bar matching low there. So I don't love it for that reason. It ends up giving you a scalp and it works out. And again, this was a day where the ATR was really small. So this was a day where 4 ticks was my target for my first scalp instead of 6 ticks. So I forgot to say that earlier. Okay, so then after this, so you have the break of your steeper channel. So you are expecting a new high. And this one actually then goes over and gives you a break of the wider channel from the spiking channel. So you get your break there. So you're expecting a new high on either one of these. And that's why I say this worked out totally the same, because this is your break of the steep channel and this is your break of the wide channel. They happen basically in the same place, and then you do get your new high right here. So it ends up working out exactly the way that price action should. So I think both of those in some ways were valid. All right, so then what you get here is this one I marked also as a green because it's a 2-bar matching low, so it's kind of an inside bar entry. But you could have seen this one as before you had a first entry, second entry. And in some ways, this is now a pullback third entry right there. And then this ends up being something different. But what the way to look at this for me was kind of like if you look off of this high here, you have a pullback first entry, pullback second entry long is one way to look at this. You also could look at these as sort of a double top and then restart your count as bigger legs. Pull back first leg, pull back second leg. So it's kind of a wider second entry. It's a little more advanced, and that's why I marked it this way. And again, the 2-bar matching low is not ideal. Doesn't give you a break lower, so the swing is kind of funky. It gives you this inside swing, and you see that it almost gives you a little congestion here with this candle. So that's another reason. If this one broke right above and went up, I would have said this would have been a blue trade because you get this kind of inside candle here that's a little bit congested looking. That kind of gives you some pause, so I marked it green because you'd have to wait for it to break above here. But anyway, it ends up working out. And the other thing about this is if you were seeing that there's a possible, there could have been like some sort of a possible range that was now forming here. And you could even have said like I wouldn't draw it I wouldn't draw it like this yet, but I'd say like at least those highs are probably going to get tapped, and you got a little bit of space there, so you're probably fine. All right, then you got this up channel working now, and it breaks and gives you a new high, which this is really just the correction from these breaks to give you the new high. So you get the new high here, pulls back, gives you a second leg to a new high, and then it ends up squeezing just a little bit higher. And what you end up getting here now, eventually, let me zoom out a little bit. Eventually, I drew a range here. And let me scroll all the way over so you can kind of see it on the screen a little bit better. Oops, there we go. So I end up having this range here that at the time you wouldn't have had this yet because this is the highs. So what I did was I just kind of monitored this and said, okay, there's not really a channel here. There's not really a spike in channel. It breaks pretty fast. You get this down channel. So the way I looked at this was we now had the high and we had this tight down channel from this lower high. So in this one, you have a first entry right here, pullback, second entry long. This one's only green because, again, this didn't make a lower low. If this green candle had a lower low right here, then I would have said, okay, we got a close outside and a new low all in one candle on the down channel, which means the down channel played out. So it would have been a safer long. Because it was a 2-bar matching low, you don't know for sure if it's going to now just basically tick up and then reverse and give you the new low. But it's still safe enough for me because it's a very bullish candle. We've had a couple of these 2-bar matching low entries, and it's been a strong uptrend. So at this point, you're expecting, hey, we might, trap a bunch of shorts that are just trying to pile on now and think they caught the top, and we might reverse there and at least ride this up to the EMA. And you had plenty of space. So I do like that long. Not ideal, but it's decent. And so then what I see here is a really safe, nice failed second entry long, because this long ends up being a failed second entry. Gives you enough space to get the trade, but then it turns into a failed second entry long here. And I like this one because of just how bearish this candle is. It's only 6 ticks. So again, this is another one where you get in with only an 8-tick stop loss. Pretty safe trade setup right there. And basically what you get is you have the high, lower high, pull back, and then another lower high. And so in some ways, you would have actually been thinking, hey, is there a possible trend channel working down, right? So you would have at the time been wondering, do we have a trend channel working down here? That's a third touch, and it looks to confirm it. We're right below the EMA. We haven't come down to test these lows yet, so it's possible that we're going to come down here. Also, in the wider context, there's a huge gap on the daily chart all the way down here. So you're thinking, maybe we're going to come down and test that gap. We still need to do it. So I do really, really like that setup. And I saw that as a nice trap on all these longs who basically trapped all these longs who were thinking that they're going to pile on and ride it back to the highs, and it just immediately reverses and slams them down. And so then you get that. So I have this down channel drawn. Also, this here I drew a measured move. So I drew this from the high to there, and then I measured it from here, and that would have given you like a nice target, and you could have rode that all the way down to your target, and just got out basically right here at this candle. Now you knew that your measure move played out. At this point, I had my range drawn from this low to this high. And so I saw this as a failed breakout. So this one was nice because now you have a close outside of this tight channel right here, right below here. It's a bullish candle. It's looking like a failed breakout. You're really far away from the EMA. So I saw that as just a possible failed breakout. Ends up being a decent trade. You're better off to wait on the higher low, which you get here. But that one to me wasn't safe because it closes below where I had the range drawn. It ends up working, but it wasn't a good trade setup. Now you have this uptrend working, close outside, new high, and this is a decent short. The way I saw this short, this is a little more nuanced, by the way. But the way I saw this short was I saw this as a trap because basically what you get here is you get a bunch of people that are trying to pile on longs. It ticks up one tick higher and then reverses. So this would be an engulfing bar entry. So you would enter this one tick below this bar. So basically you're getting in like right here. So as soon as this thing is forming and you see this tick up, you put your sell stop one tick below this bar, and then this one fills you and just shoots down. And the way that this one worked for me was you could almost consider this like a double bottom, and then you have a pullback first entry, pullback second entry short. You could see it as a second entry short if this is a double bottom. You could also see this as you could basically see this as just like, move a break of the channel and a move to a new high, and now it's reversing. So that's another way to see this. You also could see this as, no, sorry, I don't know what the heck I was thinking there, but yeah, that's how I saw that. So it's kind of a trap. It's more advanced. All right, so then this breaks down. You have a break close outside, move to a new low. And then basically after this point, you have this short-term channel that I thought was possible. It breaks outside, moves to a new high, but then it actually turns out to be a little bit of a wider channel, and this is where we are now. So we're coming up to the highs, it looks like here. I didn't mark any trade setups here just because there wasn't any at the time when I first started the video, and there really isn't any. I mean, you get a first entry short here. You don't get any uh, failed second entry shorts. You don't get any second entry longs. You just don't really have a setup here. So now if this channel is valid, which it moved on me, of course, always does. So we'll fix that. All right, that's basically where that's supposed to be. It was a little tighter, something more like that. So you have this wider channel. You're finally getting a break here. And you don't really have a first entry even. These are all matching highs. So you don't really have anything. Very possible that we're going to come up to that purple line, which is the all-time high now. It's very possible that we're going to get this break and get a couple of swings up. But this is all I got for now. This is how I saw it today. I'm going to wrap up the video here. I got to go run out and do some stuff today, so I got to take off a little earlier. So I just wanted to kind of show the price action as I saw it for the day. There really isn't much here. I mean, you could argue, I guess, that there's a second entry short triggers right here below this, but there's no that you can't enter that. It's not bearish enough. It's still within this trend channel that keeps trying to move on me. You don't have anything there, but you do have a break. So I'd be expecting probably a test of these highs somewhere, either a test of the range high here or up here. And again, this range high, it's not exactly confirmed. I mean, it's possible that the range high is actually something more like right here, and that was actually the test of it there. So it is possible that that's the range high. You don't have enough confirmations to really decide yet. It could even be something like this, and that was the test of the high, and that this up here was just a failed breakout. So it's hard to really know for sure. That actually fits pretty decently because of this high tap. These lows, it kind of fits decently with the closes. But again, now we'll see. We'll see what it does here. So you can kind of, you have to be weary of where these are. A lot of times what I'll do is I'll go like this, and I'll draw a line as sort of my secondary when I don't know for sure where the range high is going to be when it's still forming. And then I'll kind of see it as sort of a zone, a range high zone, and I'll play it off accordingly to see if I get a trade set up. So again, You don't know for sure what it's going to do here. To me, of course, this up channel, I'm expecting this to make a new high. This down channel over here didn't end up really playing out as I thought, but it might have just been a leg, a break, and then the leg to a new low. So that's why I had that deleted before, because I think this is the correct way to see that earlier. So we're not really waiting for anything to play out here. I mean, this already played out. So we're just waiting for this short-term trend channel to play out and give us a new high, or at least try to give us a new high and maybe make a lower high in reverse. Either way, right now it looks like it's about to try to happen. So I'm going to wrap it up here and call it a day. I'll be back tomorrow, and I'll see you next time.